Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this last session of the day at the DeepUp Summit 2023. We have an exciting session ahead of us that focuses on accessible reading through smart speaker. I am delighted to introduce our distinguished speakers, Laurette Uzan, Lindsay Tyler, and Johanna Gandrab from CELA Library. In this session, we will explore the Lis Mon Livre project, which aims to provide accessible reading experiences through smart speakers. Our speakers will discuss the transition from CDs to online access and showcase examples of how people interact with this innovative technology. Before we begin, please note that this session will be recorded and made available later on EDR Lab website. Additionally, EDR Lab members will receive a written synthesis of the session with all the insights and key takeaways. They hear it a lot, but we also couldn't do this without them. Many thanks to our sponsors, Regium Foundation, Glassbox, AudioBoost, and DeMark for supporting this summit. And now I will let everyone dive into the world of accessible reading through smart speakers, and I give the floor to our speakers.
Thank you. We have a presentation which I will share now. Okay. So I'm Lindsay Tyler from CELA, and we're going to go back and forth and describe the different elements of this project from CELA's point of view, and then Laurette from AVH's point of view. So I'll begin with CELA. A little bit about us first. CELA, the Center for Equitable Library Access, we're based in Canada. We're a national nonprofit organization which provides materials in accessible formats to people with print disabilities. I think in maybe a difference with some libraries for people with print disabilities internationally, but in Canada, we work through public libraries. We also provide direct service to consumers with print disabilities. CELA is funded from a number of different sources, including federally, provincially, as well as individual public libraries. And Ioana is going to talk a little bit about the collections that we provide.
Yes, hello. So it's my pleasure to be here. I'm also working at CELA, and I'm also myself a CELA user. So I know these collections firsthand, and we offer a variety of books and newspapers and magazines in different formats. The most popular one is audio, but we also have accessible e-text and Braille, and of course also electronic Braille. And they're mostly in English and French. There are a few books in other languages, but really mostly in English and French. And we also will collaborate with Bookshare. So we offer access to the Bookshare collection of texts and materials, and we are collaborating to expand our collections with by sharing with other accessible libraries. We produce also original material and purchase some material. So this is kind of the overview of the and also Bookshare helps us in providing the IT infrastructure of the CELA. So yeah, that's a bit of the collections. I'll pass it on to Lindsay.
Hello, my name is Laurette Uzan.
Laurette, sorry.
Hi, sorry. I'm the library manager from AVH. Just a few words about AVH. AVH is for Association Valentin Oui. It's a private non-profit organization dedicated to visually impaired people empowerment. It was created in the 1989, and it provides a broad range of services and support to blind and partially sighted people. The aim of AVH is to improve the quality of life of visually impaired people and promote equal access to education, employment, culture, and social participation. So that's really broad, with more than 300 employees, 3,000 volunteers, something like 90 local offices in the. It's the main organization in the visual impairment field in France. The Valentin Haüy Library, perhaps next slide. The Valentin Haüy Library is established as part of AVH and provides access to more than 1,000 adapted books in different formats. There's Braille, both human narrated and text-to-speech audiobooks and digital text. Like CELA, our most popular collections are the human narrated audiobooks provided in a specialized format called DAISY. We produce DAISY audiobooks, but most of our collection have been obtained through systematic cross-border exchange with other specialized library. So to manage those cross-border exchange, we have a partnership with the Accessible Book Consortium, known as ABC, which is a public-private organization led by WIPO. Those audiobooks may be provided directly to patrons. They may download them, or we can burn the CD on demand and send it by post. Each year, we burn around 100,000 CDs. Those CDs are also provided through a network of more than 500 public libraries, and that partnership program is supported by the French Culture Minister.
Now we'll move to talking a little bit about the project specifically and the background and needs that that initiated the project for each of us. In terms of CELA's priorities, well, I think I may have got my slides in slightly the wrong order, so I'll talk about it, I guess, a little bit together, or I'll mention a few things that'll come back on the next slide. So we received funding from the Government of Canada, a grant, which allowed us to run a pilot project with 3 different new digital delivery methods for audiobooks. Like AVH, at this time, CDs are a large portion of our circulation, and CDs are both somewhat expensive, increasingly so, and have a limited future horizon, I guess, in terms of the support for being able to purchase CDs to burn. Also, the devices that play CDs are, we expect they will get increasingly rare. So CDs, we want to look at other alternatives to CDs, essentially, as part of this this grant. And indeed, not only alternatives to CDs, but better ways of providing service to users who are getting human narrated audiobooks. So in terms of our priorities for this project, one of them was certainly to meet the deadlines required by the grant, which were relatively short. We had about 6 months to do the project. We were also wanted to, though it was a pilot project, we wanted to work on technologies that would have a sustainable cost over the long term. So although the grant provided money to begin the project and to put the technology in place, we wanted something that where the maintenance costs would be modest over the long term. We also required both French and English versions of the smart speaker applications. So working with an organization that could support that was important. We also, in addition to meeting the deadlines and the costs and so on, we did want a solid application with a reasonable variety of functions, including search, browse, and we were especially interested in connecting to our users direct-to-player bookshelf. So this is a personal bookshelf that they have on our system, and which we can push books to. So we engaged in a request for proposals process, which resulted in the selection of EDR Lab as the developer for the applications. Something I didn't mention in that slide as well, but is probably relevant as a priority, is that we wanted at the time of the project initially to have applications for both Google and for Alexa. In terms of some of the other priorities that brought us to choosing smart speakers specifically for this project, as opposed to there's lots of other technologies for delivering books, but why we chose to specifically to focus on smart speakers as part of this pilot project is that in our strategic priorities and what our organizational priorities really emphasize choice in format and delivery method. So giving users as many options as possible, and also focusing on ease of use. Many of our users are new to assistive technology, maybe new to technology in general. We have tend to have many older adults who have acquired blindness or partial sight later on in life. And often they didn't use technology very much in their working life, or perhaps they did, but they find the need now to use assistive technology a bit daunting. So technologies that are easy to use are a priority for us. So there's the grant that I mentioned already, which we received in 2021. And I think some of the specifics driving the decision to look at smart speakers were user interest. Also, smart speakers are a lower cost and mainstream technology. You can buy it anywhere. You don't need to go to a assistive technology retailer specifically. They're very inexpensive, under $100 generally. We felt that they had potential to be suitable for lower tech users and those with mobility disabilities where using the hands is difficult. And for us, it's also a relatively cost-effective delivery service compared to physical formats such as CDs.
Yeah, we face the same equation, and as you may understand. Right now, around 40% of our users don't access internet at all, because mostly they are not able to use adapted computer technologies and more generally assistive technologies, and therefore they are not able to use computers, smartphone, tablets. It represents around 5,000 patrons right now. Most of them are aging people with evolving pathologies like AMD, age-related macular degeneration. They cannot download books on our digital libraries, so they rely on CDs. Yeah, but as you know, CD will disappear eventually, and eventually may be approaching quite quickly now. So how to help those people make the switch to dematerialized contents? That was the situation. Next slide. So one of the solution appeared to us as a voice controlled device. So when EDR Lab suggested us a cooperation on a smart speaker skill to read audiobook reader supporting DAISY, we've been, of course, interested. And when EDR Lab suggested that the resultant skill may be released as an open source development for any specialized library or commercial audiobook library to exploit, we were very interested. So yes, so our challenges were to be able to distribute copyright contents under copyright exception. So we were to develop a system with enough security and with an authentication system for the user. We were searching for a skill who was able to support DAISY 2.02 contents. We have 60,000 audiobooks right now, so discoverability is really a challenge, and our books may be something like 40 hours long, so it is really necessary that the user may be able to resume the reading where it stopped. Finally, we know that around half of our users will need human help to choose a book, to download a book, or to access a book. So it was really important that the system we developed may allow human help when needed, whether from family or from professional. Next slide. We were lucky in our search to find Somalis, so their lab, who suggested the project. Amazon France and the Alexa team from Amazon France, who were very interested in the project and choose to help us toward the whole path. They gave us access to their expertise. They gave us materials for user testing, and they were very, very helpful through the whole path. Also, we had the luck to be supported by CNL, le Centre National du Livre, the National Book Center, who funded the project. Also, we were very happy that CELA joined the project, as it's really interesting for us to have several different point of views on user cases and technical choices on that project.
We'll talk now a little bit about the functionality that we chose to work with in this these applications. So for CELA, we selected or we went ahead with several essential functions in all of the applications that were developed. And I should mention that we called the applications in English, the applications were called Accessible Reading Canada, and in French, Lecture Accessible Canada. Unfortunately, finding a name that was easy to invoke with your voice was one of the initial challenges we faced, and we found that using the word CELA, or in French CAIEB, which is the acronym in French for CELA, was not very good with the voice invocation. So Accessible Reading Canada and Lecture Accessible Canada were distinct and clear and worked better. So that's the name. In terms of the functionality, like AVH, we also provide copyright exempted material or material otherwise that is under copyright. So we need to authenticate users who are qualified to use our service. Then we offer a basic search, which is a title and author index, so people can search really just by title and author. That was trying to keep that aspect as simple as possible for now. We also have the option to browse curated collections that staff put together, as well as popular genres like mysteries or romance or biographies. We also allow people to access their bookshelf. and play books from their bookshelf. So the bookshelf, people can either select items to put on the bookshelf themselves ahead of time, or we can push books according to their preferences to their bookshelf. So that is a way of providing access to books that interest the user without them having to do searches either through the skill or the app or on our website. Of course, the applications needed to actually play the books. And finally, very important that they can return to in progress books at the place where they left off. I think, Ioana, you were going to talk a little bit, if I'm not mistaken, just doing my notes about,
I think I'll take over for the
options.
testing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, the playback options, sure. It's my pleasure. So the playback options we have, as we already mentioned, we developed this skill for Google and Amazon initially, and there were some differences in the tools made available by these platforms in terms of playback. However, but currently, fortunately, a lot of the playback functionality is very much not able, we are not able to control it ourselves because it's, like I said, dependent on these features. So we offer basic navigation. You can start and stop. You can skip to the next and previous tracks of the book as it is set up in the book. So we do not, unfortunately, have currently, we know that it will be very useful to have more detailed, more advanced time jumping and bookmarking and speed control, but these are for now more difficult to achieve. It is, of course, possible, that's essential, as we mentioned before, to resume the book where you left off. So you don't have to try to find your spot afterwards. That would not be ideal. And yeah, these are the main capabilities of playback.
So the functionality of Valentin Lecture are basically the same as the CELA skill. The idea is for both the skill to remain as identical as possible. So it's really, really near. So I'll just do a few focus on some UX question and UX tricks. As you know, you don't always read one book after another. Most of the time, you read several books simultaneously. So you may have, I don't know, a novel that you read at evening, the workbook you're working on the day, and the essay you've been giving a try. So we wanted the skill to be able to keep track of all of your own progress books so that you don't have to find your last point of the last point you stopped your reading on the book you read. So the skill is keeping track of up to 4 on-progress books. And at the beginning of the skill, you may say, I want to keep on reading one of my on-progress books, and the skill will allow you to choose which one of your on-progress books you want to open today. Next tricks, the discoverability, the research by voice in a huge catalog or in a big catalog is indeed a challenge. So we wanted our users to be able to get help on that task. So we developed our API so as to link our website, the catalog, the user account, and personal bookshelf. So the user may choose a book on the website, and then the book will be immediately available on the device, or the user may call us, ask his public librarian, ask his teacher, ask his helper to choose a book for him or to push a book for him, and the book will appear on his device, on his personal bookshelf. Let's go for the development process, perhaps.
So in terms of CELA's development process, it was really a coordinated effort between CELA IT, which in our case, we contract most of our IT development work to another organization in Canada that we work closely with named CNIB, EDR Lab, of course, and apologies for the spelling error there, plus another developer, Open Dialogue for conversational design, and the Amazon Skills. In terms of our involvement specifically, there were a number of elements that we needed to develop for this project. So for the authentication, we supported a OAuth 2 in order to grant access to book content for users. So they could essentially sign in with their CELA account and link the skill to their account. Secondly, we needed to convert our DAISY Audio 2.02 collection, like AVH, that's our primary audiobook format. So we needed to convert those books to the Readium format and then store those titles so that they could be retrieved quickly by the skill. And finally, we created APIs for search, browse, and user bookshelf. And later on, we also found that we needed to have another call, API call as well, for the purpose of counting the usage and maintaining our statistics.
So let's have a look on the technical infrastructure behind Valentin Lecture, which is very, very near. Yeah, very near the CELA one. So our digital platform is called EOL. EOL is a Drupal website turning with the catalog, with it's supported by an Elasticsearch instance. So we plugged that Elasticsearch instance to an OPDS2 API. As you may know, OPDS2 is a catalog format and transfer standard for ebook catalogs that is very widely used in the commercial ecosystem. We also used OAuth 2 for user authentication. We implemented a script written by EDR Lab to turn the DAISY structure in a Readium web publication JSON manifest. And we implemented a streamer to expose the MP3 that were called by the manifest. Those 4 elements, the API, the OAuth 2 module, the streamer, and the manifest, are exposed by EOL and exploited by Valentin Lecture, which have been designed with the Open Dialogue conversational AI.
We'll turn to testing and user feedback now. And I think here is where the two organizations begin to diverge a little bit with the different stages of our process. But I'll let you keep going, Laurette.
Yeah, exactly. While the CELA skill has already been launched, Valentin Lecture is still in a beta status. We've had the first Amazon validation 2 weeks ago. the functional testing to search for the petty bugs are still in progress. We will then do UX testing, open user testing, and we hope to open access to the skill for patrons widely for patrons by the end of the year.
Right, that's so if I may, I will talk now a bit about CELA's process in terms of testing books. So we started with internal testing, a select group of the CELA, the people that are working for CELA, me included and Lindsay, tested the skill to iron out the initial bugs in the beta form, but then we opened it up to a pilot with a limited number of users. There were about 150. We provided 100 speakers, both Google and Amazon. At that time, we were exploring both. And there were some that participated using their own device. The response was really so enthusiastic that we had to refuse so many people. It was like winning the lottery when they found out that they could use this. They could be part of the project. So there is clearly great interest in using the skill. We used various methods to gather feedback. Of course, we submitted our own bug reports and those that were reported to us by the pilot users. But we also had focus groups so that we can have discussions and a survey that was very useful in understanding the reaction of our patrons and where we're at. In order to do all this work, CELA hired what we call peer trainers, and I'm one of those peer trainers. We are basically, we developed, the peer trainers were hired to develop all sorts of tutorials, audio, video, and in document form to document the process of setting up accounts for Google and for Amazon, for setting up the speaker, and of course, for setting up and using the Accessible Reading Canada or the Lecture Accessible Canada. And we also provided technical support during the pilot to all the users, all the pilot participants via phone and email. And we found that really the setting up of the skill and the account was the most involved part of the process. Once it got going, support was a little less necessary. So these are the main aspects of the way we implemented support for the skill. Now, in terms of using the skill, we have some results about the most popular features that we used in order of popularity. And so the number one feature that patrons used was search. And then so searching for a book by a title or author. Then we had the users were accessing their bookshelf. That's the bookshelf that you can put in books from wherever you are from a different browser, or they can be automatically placed there. And it is integrated, as we said, with the skill. The third feature in popularity was browsing by genre or by theme. And so once a book has been selected, 86% of the respondents, they used the resume. So they returned to the book and continued from their recent books. So that was a very useful feature, because once the books are started, it is the easiest way to find them. The overall response from the users was, majority of them was about 57% declared themselves interested in using the skill in the future. 20% were saying that it depends, it depends on their needs and on the state of the skill. And a very small minority said that they would not be interested. So clearly there is clear potential and interest about the skill. The satisfaction with the skill, as it was at the time of the pilot, was mixed, likely owing to bugs that were still, available, that were still happening in the skill at that time, because as the pilot participants were aware, it was, of course, still a beta, and it still is in a skill in development. And the main problem that probably that affected the satisfaction was the resume function, because if the book would lose its the bookmark of the last played marker, then of course it would deter people from trying to access the skill. In terms of requested features, the most requested features are unsurprisingly more advanced navigation options. So you can jump to a specific time rather than being limited just to going from track to track. You also, of course, the playback speed control is a very requested feature, but again, not really something that is in our control. More flexibility in issuing commands. I guess you will see later in our demo that this has been greatly improved, so that you can access any part of the skill from wherever you are. So you have more flexibility in navigating from one section of the skill to the other. That was another. People were hoping for better relevancy in terms of the search results, and this is also something that is ongoing work is being done in that regard. It might be a good idea. We received interesting feedback about patrons with lower technology comfort, that it might be useful to implement maybe in the future a simplified skill, a simplified interface where people can just, for example, resume one last book. So it might be a bit more limited, but it also makes it very easy and stable, because they could benefit greatly from a stable and easy to use release. So I will pass it on to back to the others now.
I think we do have a demo, and I think we're getting tight on time. So I'm going to just briefly say that we've been working on a number of improvements, and we expect to be able to offer the skill to patrons who are interested in using it later in this year. I'd like AVH. Oh, I've heard we do have time. Okay, so so I won't need to rush too much, maybe. The Google application, unfortunately, they're not supporting this technology anymore, so we're simply moving ahead with Alexa. So we're testing and validating the changes that were prioritized according to user feedback, and handling any remaining bugs. And we hope to, again, finish that testing quite soon, and then offer the skills, I think still on a somewhat provisional basis to people who are interested and willing to try something new later this year. Okay, so this is the best part, I think. Ioana has recorded some demonstrations of our skill, the English one, and I will switch my share.
As you do, I just wanted to say a few words. So basically, we will hear a few things. First, I will demonstrate the skill very much as a new user would use it. So I'd let it explain all the prompts, and you will see the skill in its more detailed form. Then we will see more flexible usage of the skill, and showing you how we jump from one aspect to another and of the skill. And finally, we will have another part where I demonstrate the very useful help function that will help enable people to find out what they need to do in case they're unsure about how to proceed using the skill.
Okay, so I will now share this. It's about a 6-minute demonstration, and so it should play with the sound, and someone will let me know if you have difficulty hearing it.
Alexa, start Accessible Reading Canada.
Welcome back to your CELA library, through which you can access all your favorite books. Would you like to resume Empty Planet, The Shock of Global Population Decline? Choose one of your recent books, check your bookshelf, or perhaps browse our collections, or search for a new one altogether?
Bookshelf.
Great. Here come the first 3 titles you have on your bookshelf. Pick one of these books by saying their number. 1. Musique, Poésie. 2. Vie Fugly, Poésie. 3. Humanisms, Fables. To check out the other books on your shelf, you can say next. Which one would you like to start reading?
Next.
Okay, let's check out the last 2 titles on your shelf. 1. Empty Planet, The Shock of Global Population Decline. 2. State of Terror, a novel.
Alexa,
Which one would you like?
2.
State of Terror, a novel. Great choice. Before we start, let me remind you how this reader works. You can put your read on hold at any time by pronouncing your smart speaker's wake word. Alexa, followed by these instructions. Pause. To pause your book. Resume. We'll let you pick up your reading where you last left it. You can also navigate between tracks by saying the wake word followed by next or previous at any time. Now, shall we get started with State of Terror, a novel?
Yes.
State of Terror, a novel. Simon and Schuster
Alexa,
Audio.
stop.
present-
Alexa, what's the weather?
In Montreal, it's 22 degrees Celsius with mostly sunny skies.
Alexa, resume.
presents State of Terror,
Alexa,
a
next.
novel. Chapter 5. The flight landed at the Frankfurt
Alexa.
airport 10 minutes late.
Previous.
State of Terror, a novel. Simon
Alexa,
and Schuster
stop.
Audio.
So as you can see, you can perform other tasks after interrupting audio. However, you cannot resume Accessible Reading Canada if you are playing another audio, such as a podcast or other media, on the Alexa smart speaker. Now I will demonstrate the flexibility in accessing different parts of the skill. I will also show you that if you are more familiar with the skill, you don't need to wait through all the prompts and you can bypass them and go to the next step. Alexa, start Accessible Reading Canada and search.
Sure thing. Say search for or find followed by the book or author you are looking for. What book or author do you want to search for?
Find Jack London.
I found 3 books to match your search. 1. Short Stories of Jack London, authorized 1-volume edition. 2. Martin Eden, Classics Library. 3. Croc Blanc, Le Livre de Poche, ISSN 02483653, number
Alexa,
3900.
summary of 1.
London was a traveling man whose story of a typhoon off the coast of Japan won a newspaper contest and was published when he
Alexa?
returned from the...
Go back.
I found 3 books to match your search. 1.
Alexa, browse collections.
Would you like to browse books by theme or by genre?
By genre.
Here are some available genres. 1. Mysteries and crime stories. 2. General fiction.
Alexa, 1.
I've found multiple books to match your search. Here are the first 3. 1. The Chaos Kind, John Ray novel number
Alexa,
11.
summary of 1.
Assistant U.S. Attorney Alondra Diaz hates human traffickers and her current target is financier Andrew
Alexa?
Schrader.
Get started.
The Chaos Kind, John Ray novel number 11. Great choice. Before we start, let me
Alexa,
remind you.
yes.
The Chaos Kind by Barry Eisler.
Alexa, stop.
DB107.
Alexa, start Accessible Reading Canada and recent books.
You are listening to 4 other books. 1. The Chaos Kind, John Rain novel number 11. 2. State of Terror, a novel. 3. Empty Planet, The Shock of Global Population Decline. 4. Becoming.
Alexa, browse collections.
Would you like to browse books by theme or by genre?
Help.
To hear an overview of available themes, say theme. For an overview of available genres, say genre. Do you want to hear a list of available themes, or do you prefer genres?
Themes.
Here are some themes you might like to explore. 1. Top books for adults. 2. Award-winning fiction. 3. Award-winning nonfiction.
Alexa,
You
stop.
can- Okay. Remember, if you would like some help using the CELA library skill on Alexa, CELA staff are at your service. Hope you'll come back soon to enjoy some of your favorite books.
And that is the demo of almost all the features of the skill. And I guess we can now, I'm not sure about the time or if we have any more content, but if not, I suppose it will be time for us to take any questions or open the discussion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think we're done our formal presentation, so we're very happy to have questions.
Well, thank you very much to the 3 of you. That was really impressive. We will now take questions from the audience. So if you have any questions to send to our speakers, you can use the Q&A tool, which is at the bottom of your screen, Q&A, or you can also send your question in the chat. We will see them. So feel free to send any questions you might have. We have received a question from Yorick Peters. Does the Alexa skill support all the DAISY book structures, navigate by chapters, sentences, or pages?
So I guess I can start. So at this time, no, it only provides track level navigation. So it's very limited, and it depends on how the book is set up, what kind of detail you get with track level navigation.
I'm just sending that to the chat so everyone can see it again. Do we have another question? Feel free to send them, or any comment you would have in the discussion. It seems that this presentation was pretty clear. We don't have any other questions coming in, so we have already extended a bit our time because it's almost 5 now. So unless another question is coming, I guess we will end this session now. Do you maybe want to add a few words, say something to your audience, like if they want to get more information, discover your work?
Yes, certainly. So you can visit us online at celalibrary.ca, and happy to, our contact information is available on the website, and be happy to hear from colleagues who are interested in this project or other work that we do.
Thank you.
And for contact with AVH, you can just write to Mediathèque, MEDIATHEQUE at avh.asso.fr.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the three of you in the name of EDR Lab for this presentation and this demonstration. And so that concludes our sessions for today. We will come back for the last day of the Digital Publishing Summit tomorrow at 11 a.m. CEST. So to all our audience, to our speakers, if they want to meet us tomorrow, it will be same event in the lobby. And thank you again, and have a nice end of the morning for the Canadian ones, and end of the day in Europe.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye, merci.